Okay, we are doing supposedly a quick video. Well, there's one of the shorts. How do I know how short it is? I don't know. Well, I'll have to look at the side. 10 minutes max, all right? So I just wanted to show you what I do when I'm fretting. And you may have seen this before because I've done it on loads of videos. But here I have the neck for T9, which is a Telecaster shaped guitar, which is this one here. Ready to go, kind of, nearly. And this is an upcycled neck that I've made from an old Squier Japanese neck of some kind. Anyway, so what I've decided is it's going to have these beautiful gold EVO frets, which you can see glinting away here. And I am going to now get a fretting with these, get the job on the go. So first thing I use is my 9.5 inch caul. Now I know this is a 9.5 inch rate. He said, you know, this is a 9 point... What? Oh, have I gone completely mad? Uh-oh. What was 9.5? What have I done? Where am I? What day is it? Holy cracticus. This is not a 12. Is this showing up as 12? Yes, it is. Okay, that's all right. So what was I? They're both 12s. I've confused myself. Told myself it's a 9.5, which it isn't. So I believe the 12 inch caul is sitting over here in some debonder, which I used. This is wasting precious time. I used to clean historical super glue off it. So get it out, give it a quick clean up, and we'll start the segment again. So here we have, hopefully, the cleaned up 12 inch radius. This is not a caul, it's the insert for the caul. There it is, 12 inch radius. Right, that's going to go into the press caul. And it has a little screw in that goes inside, a grub screw, which is way too long, and I haven't got around to shortening it, so it gets in the way of a few things. But anyway, so for those who are even vaguely interested, the thing about fretting, whether it's from a new guitar, on a new guitar, or or upcycled neck like this, the key things about fretting is to make sure that your surface that you're fretting onto is good. So make sure you know what the radius is, and if it's uneven or a bit odd, if you're doing this from scratch, you might want, or certainly if you're upcycling building the neck yourself, you want to make sure the radius is right. If it's an existing one, then you have to kind of match your frets to the radius as best you can, and these are made for a 12 inch radius. So the second thing that's really important in all of this is making sure that your slots are free of stuff. That's really difficult to do. In this case, I've preserved the end fills because I struggle. It's one of the things I've yet to master is the end fills. I've preserved them on here, and I'm going to fret over them so I don't have to worry. I can just lacquer over the top. The difficulty of the reason I'm mentioning that is because if you really want to be sure you've cleaned the slots, getting a fret saw into there is probably the best way to guarantee that everything's properly cleared. I'm confident I've cleaned these frets out without having to use that. So in that way I've been able to preserve the original end fills, and that makes the finishing job a little bit easier, which I'll show you at the end if I get around to it. But if you're not confident about whether you can get a knife into here and these are cleaned out, which I've done these several times now, so I know exactly that there's no obstructions to these new frets, then if you're not confident about that, get the fret saw in there, clear through, and then fret right to the edge, and then you'll have you can either fret right to the edge and have the metal showing, or you can fret an overhang and then go to fill in later. And as I say, the filling in has been an absolute pain. So in this case, I'm treating this as a bound neck. I'm leaving the sealed bits in there, and I'm fretting with a little undercut so that the fret kind of goes on as if it were a bound neck. Now here's how I fret. Okay, I've got my fret block, my block there, a bit of rubber, and I'm going to do this. I'm using it upside down to begin with to press into the heel area, and then once I get off the heel, I'll turn it over and use the cork side of this neck caul. So to begin with, I get that kind of ready, and I get me a bit of glue. Now you might see that I've got my glue and my debonder in a little tray because I have ruined far too many worktops by tipping over the glue pot, and it's too easy to do. Now I get a tiny drop of glue and deposit it here and there on the fret, and I have to get the end tabs ideally so that there's a chance of pressing it down, and then a bit of scraping around, and then I balance my cocktail stick where I can get it easily. Now the trick is to get this onto here and place it equidistantly. Now what I can do, often do, is to make sure I just give it a little central tap with the hammer. Then I bring it up, I've got some glue somewhere, bring it up to the press like this, and before I run out of glue setting time, I line it up and then press it in there like that. And then I hold it with my bungee rubber, which is a very convenient little device, and I get me a sharp object or a flat straight object, and I just remove any glue that's come out the side, which usually is a little, and I do it carefully for both sides, avoiding the grub screw on the other side, and then I just chuck the paper on the floor. It's like I'm really messy. Now that's my first one done, and I take it off, have a look, make sure it feels like it's seated well. It has. Then I get number 2. Now all of these frets are pre-cut, so I've done all the snipping and trimming to the right length. So in this case, I'm just on it's a game of just getting them pressed in one after another. And once I've done that, I've got JT's made in Korea custom strat to do in a refret, but that will involve taking the neck off the body. Whoops, that slipped sideways. Now this is where you get a bit mucky, and you have to be careful that you haven't glooped any glue on your fingers. That's where the carpet can be good for a quick wipe of the fingers before you handle the neck or the fingerboard like I'm doing here. Now if you're clamping with a press like this, it is possible to exert more or less pressure with the clamp. You can really swing on it, and you can sometimes one is able to end up with a fret that's somehow pressed further in, because of course wood is soft organic material, and if you really clamp on it you can press it in too far and then you have an uneven fret. But you probably can see that's looking pretty good. Now super glue is my way of making it a permanent job, right? What I expect is for a set of really hard frets like these EVO Golds, I expect them to last a good 15 to 20 years. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Before you'll need to pull them. And the only downside in my book about super glue is that it's a little crunchier than wood glue and other things like that, which can be a little gentler, less brittle when you remove the frets in future. But I think the payoff for the certainty, the speed of fretting of the super glue is providing your slots are good. A little bit of glue gets the job done very quickly, and I can be beveling these frets within an hour or two of, well, pretty much straight after of fitting them. There's no sort of waiting and dry. So you can see it's quite quick, but obviously what you don't see in this currently 8:47 video is you don't see the preparatory process to get the neck finished to the sort of condition I wanted in. But I'll keep this that short. So refretting, there are some tools you need. I'll show you them when I've just laid this next fret in place. I'll put this one under clamp and then show you. So the fretting tools are a number of things that help. The ones for pulling frets out are, I've pulled frets out just by, with a blade. Some guitars, the frets just want to fall out because they're barely attached. But most of the time, if you want to do anywhere near a decent job, you're going to need the following tools. This one for pulling the frets out in the first place, or a tool very similar, has very sharp pliers, and you're using it to lever the, lever the frets out gently as you go, followed by Where did the others go? Hey? Oh, here they are. Followed by a big flat-headed cutter like this for cutting the frets. I've got a part of this one I use for stainless steel because it dents them, and then a part I use for the regular ones. And then a little fret tang undercutter, which is vital for cutting that little overhang for bound necks. So got to have that for bound necks. Need the cutter for cutting your frets to length. And then once you've done that, you really do need, you can do it with files and Dremel type tools, but you need an edge beveler to get yourself a nice clean edge. And this takes a lot of learning to get this right without, it's very easy to ruin your newly laid fret tops with this type of file. And I haven't found any of them look any more efficient than this original one I got from Guitars and Woods. What I have added to this is, you can see a bit of a double-sided tape and a rubber pad, because you have to put quite a bit of downward sideways force into using this to get anywhere with beveling and trimming your frets. I have done it on a rotary spindle sander. Look at the time, we're at 11. I have done it on one of those, but you create a lot of heat on the edges, and if it's a maple neck, you can end up looking slightly burned. Anyway, that's your 11 minutes quick film, how to do a refret.